Your controller settings are one of the most important parts to getting good at Fortnite, which is why in this video I'm walking you through every setting, including what I think are the best settings, and by the end you're gonna understand exactly how to tweak these to get your perfect sense that you never want to change. And let's jump right into it. So this first tab might look a little different than yours look because I play with the Scuff and Vision on a PC, but the settings throughout this video are gonna work on every single platform. So for resolution, I just play on default. For frame rate, I cap mine at 240, but if you're on next gen console, you gotta make sure you're on 120 FPS mode. On my PC, I play performance mode, and then my graphic settings are basically all default except for the brightness. I turn up to 120%. This completely depends on your monitor and your preference, but I think the game looks a little too dark on default, so I go up to like 120% around there. And actually, if I'm on console, then I max out my brightness. I go 150% and I go Triton Note 10 to get the brightest possible screen because I feel like console is really dark. On my PC, I don't feel like I need that though. And then on my PC performance mode settings, I just go all low, near, off. Basically just trying to max out their performance there. Then we go over to the audio tab. The only two sliders here that really matter are main and sound effects. You want to make sure you don't have these too low because then you won't be able to hear stuff. Sound quality I set to high. I don't use 3D headphones. In visualize sound effects, you have to turn this on. This setting literally feels like a cheat that Fortnite is just giving us because it's that good. You can literally see stuff that you can't actually hear. It'll tell you exactly which direction shots are coming from if there's footsteps that you couldn't actually hear. Like if you're playing with visualize sound effects turned off, you're at a massive disadvantage. Then we go over one to the communications tab, and this is just all like your voice chat stuff, so whatever you need to put on there, do it. Over one from there is the game tab. In the first thing, matchmaking region, a lot of people just leave this on auto, but it's actually better to manually set your server to the one you get the best ping to. So for me, that's NA Central. Down to movement settings, we have auto run lock zone, which to be honest, I'm not fully sure what this even does because even with the explanation, I don't notice a difference whether it's off or on. Double tap to auto run I've turned on. That's pretty self-explanatory. Toggle sprint just means you click your button and it automatically sprints, versus if you have this off, then you have to hold your sprint button the whole time while you sprint. So having this turned on is way better for fighting. Auto open doors, I like it turned on. Mantle and hurdle activation, these are basically just personal preference. Honestly, I don't really notice a difference with those either, but then we get to the combat settings. And for combat settings, you definitely want to have hold to swap pickup turned on. Toggle targeting definitely turn off. It's really bad. Mark danger when targeting, sure, it's not that big of a deal. In auto pickup weapons, I have it turned off, but only because I have this controller with a scroll wheel box. So this is a controller built for PC where I can remap a mouse scroll wheel to be my side button and literally have scroll wheel pickup. Just one of the many advantages this controller has. I absolutely love it. If you're also a controller player on PC, I heavily recommend checking it out. There's even a Carter 2K discount code that you can use at Scuff, so that's kind of cool. But basically, if my controller didn't have this feature, then I definitely would turn auto pickup weapons on for controller players. It'll be a little annoying having to constantly reorganize your loadout every early game, but it's worth it to be able to get those weapons over keyboard and mouse scroll wheel players. So you'll get used to it soon enough, and the benefit is definitely worth it. For preferred item slots, this basically depends on what mode you play the most. If you play reload, if you play OG, if you play regular. The two things you always want to have though is your shotgun in the first slot because it's the easiest to get to. And then in either slot 2 or slot 5, you need a follow-up spray weapon. So either an AR or an SMG. This is so when you shoot your shotgun, you can instantly follow it up with a spray with just one bumper click. And for the rest of your slots, you can kind of do whatever you want. I always recommend carrying a utility and then 2 heals. Then if you have preferred item slots, we don't need auto sort consumables to the right, so we can turn that off. And then down here, this is now just the building section. They used to have building and editing both together, but both the building settings should be turned on. Then for this editing section, look, not a lot of people recommend simple edit, but I will if you're not very good at editing. Look, I do not mean to offend anyone right here. I'm specifically trying to get you guys all better at the game. But if you're someone that can't edit very fast, like you can't do triple edits, you struggle a little bit with double edits, whether it's because of ping, whether it's because of input delay, whatever the reason may be, I actually recommend turning on simple edit and turning on tap to simple edit because it's good. For some reason, people hate on simple edit, but they don't realize that it's legitimately good and you can get fast on it. So for those slower editors, for those players on a high ping, on high input delay, this setting is literally meant for you to be so much better. There's literally nothing to be embarrassed about when you use this, because even if your friends try to roast you for using it, I promise once you full piece them and clip them, they'll stop talking. On the other hand, if you've been grinding this game for years, you're not going to want to use simple edit, especially if you play competitive because you can't actually use it in comp. But honestly, I still recommend just trying to learn it for fun because it is really fun to play with. But when I do have simple edit off, I disable pre-edits for controller controller just because I don't think they're good on controller. I think they actually hurt you more than they help you. And then I have auto confirm edit set to bold, which I think most people know what this means, but basically you click your edit button, then you click your select button, which is typically your right trigger. And once you let go of your right trigger, it just auto confirms for you. And same thing for resetting. You just click your edit button and you click your reset button. And it takes just 2 buttons to edit and reset versus 3, which is obviously faster. I mean, at this point, even the fastest pros in the world, like Peterbot, Clicks, all the mouse and keyboard players are even using edit on release turned on. Down here, definitely make sure to turn tap to search and interact turned on. I like to record my replays. Energy saving mode, I don't like it, so I just turn this to never. So hopefully you have a good understanding of this tab. Now we go over to the game UI section. Over here, this entire top part is all just personal preference. Whatever you want. I like my damage numbers to list and be big, but if you like it on cumulative and small, then that's on you, whatever you want. Change your HUD scale to whatever is comfortable, then I wouldn't mess with any settings under that. Just leave the rest of these on default. And one tab over from there is the touch and motion, which we're just gonna turn gyro aiming completely off and move on. We don't need gyro aiming, it's so bad. Neither of these two mouse and keyboard settings apply to us until we get to the controller tab, which has all the sensitivities. And this is the tab you really need to understand if you want to dial in your settings. Controller auto run, completely personal preference. Build immediately. This only applies if you're on Builder Pro, but I just turn it on anyway. Edit hold time only matters if over here in your binds you don't have a dedicated edit button. So if you scroll down to building in your binds and go to this top bind right here, if this is the button you're clicking to both pull out your builds and edit, it's really bad. You're really probably slow. If that happens to be you, all you have to do is click the red X, scroll down to where you see switch mode, set this to its own specific button. I use mine on left stick. Then once you set that, go back out, go down to edit now and scroll down until you see edit building and set this to its own specific button. Mine is set to B, but I actually just press my paddle to edit. And if this button right here is the button you click to edit, then edit hold time, it doesn't matter if it's all the way up or all the way down. It's not going to apply to you. For good measure, you can just put it all the way down. If you're not using simple edit, even if you are using simple edit, you should just have tap to simple edit turned on, so you don't need this at all. Slide hold time, I like rocking like a 0.07, but this you can kind of mess with, whatever you're comfortable with. Reset camera access and reset camera time, this is another irrelevant setting unless you're using gyro aiming, which you shouldn't. So if you have gyro aiming turned off in this tab, which you should, then over here, these two don't matter what they're on. It's not going to affect anything, whatever you put them on. I just leave them at the default, which I think is pitch in 0.1, and then vibrations. If you want the best long range AR aim with your controller, then vibrations should be off. This is such a minor detail, but obviously when you have vibrations turned on and you're shooting, your controller is buzzing, and that can slightly throw off your thumbs and throw off your aim. So to get the most precise aim possible, we just turn vibrations off. Down to quick weapon, no one good really uses this. It's just not that good. It's kind of slower than the regular mode that we all know. I think in certain situations it's good, but if you've been playing on the default bumper mode for years, it's just not worth switching to this. It doesn't make sense. And it's a little confusing how you actually turn off quick weapons. So all you have to do is set this to custom only, then go actually over to your binds, go down to general, scroll down in general to where it says quick weapon, and make sure you select the red X on this, and then you'll be back on the normal just bumpers to switch your weapons. Now below all of that, we finally get to the sensitivities, which we're gonna make sure use advanced options is turned on. It's gonna give you like this warning thing, but it's fine, we know what we're doing. So build multiplier and edit multiplier, my favorite is 2.0. In first person mode, I just leave this at a 1x, which we're actually gonna come back to these, because if we go down to the look sense, my horizontal and vertical look sense are both 43% with absolutely no boost. So 0% horizontal, 0% vertical, 0% boost ramp time. And now somehow people still don't realize that this is not its own sensitivity. This is just multiplying this. So right now, my look sense, when I do this and just spin around, this is 43%, and then as soon as I pull out my builds, this is exactly double that speed, because my build and edit multipliers are 2. So if I set my build and edit multipliers to just 1, if I spin around and then pull out my builds, it doesn't get faster or slower. It's the exact same speed. Now, why this is so important is because every time you change this sensitivity, your build and edit sensitivity are also changing, even if you don't mess with them. So say if I go from 43 down to 35, which is the lowest range I recommend for the look sensitivity, even though the build and edit sense are still 2, because they're multipliers, my build and edit sense are now still slower than they were before. So if you wanted that slower look sense, but you still wanted the quicker build and edit sense, then you need to turn this up to make up for it. And basically the key to finding your perfect sensitivity that you never want to change is by doing these small, tiny changes. Then you go into a free build map, I would really appreciate it if you used mine. This is the code, or you can find it by just searching Carter2K. You can come in here, you can set different cool custom backgrounds. You can even set a custom crosshair and play music. But basically change all your sensitivities to what I'm recommending right here, and then from there, use that as your baseline. If you think they're too fast, then slowly change them. If you think the build and edit sense is too fast, slowly turn this down to like 1.8, go back in, try it again, build around, see if this is now comfortable. And this might take a minute to figure out, but the key is that you're gonna find settings that you really like that you'll never change again, so you can build so much muscle memory on them and get insane at Fortnite. Now, just as a general recommendation, I would never go lower than 35% on your look sense, because then it gets too slow, and I would never go over 50%. Even 50% I think is too high, but some people really like a higher sense, but it makes you miss way more shots. I've been playing 43% for years, and I think it's absolutely perfect. And then for ADS aim, you're gonna want to do the same. So I set mine, I think the perfect ADS sense is 7% horizontal, 8% of vertical, 0% boost and all that, and a 1.0 scoped multiplier. And now again, same thing, come into this map, do some target practice on the backgrounds, on the crosshairs, see if this is too fast, too slow for you, maybe just look out, kind of see how you can track, and from there you can make adjustments if you want it faster or slower. But again, I think this is the perfect sense. I would never go below 5%, that's just too slow, and I would never go over 12%, that just gets too fast. Our number one goal is to hit every single shot that we take, and how you do that is with the proper sensitivity. Now below that, you have to use linear look input curve if you're going to use these settings that I've been showing you. The best settings for exponential are just way different. You want to look up like reach settings if you're going to use expo. I think linear is way more fun to play on though. You can be a lot faster. It's more like PC or using a mouse. I just think it's way easier to be good with linear. And then for aim assist, obviously we want this all the way up 100%, 100%. People set this at like 98, 99. I don't know why, that's just placebo. Just set it all the way up to 100. And then dead zones are going to depend on your specific controller, but like on my controller, or basically on all of my controllers actually, I go 10% on both left and right stick. This just depends if you have stick drift or not, so you can go as high as like 20% if you really need to. Some people, especially on brand new controllers, go as low as 5%, but again, I play 10%, I like it. Now one tab over from there are the controller binds, which these are also incredibly important, maybe even more so than the sensitivities. But the specific binds that I use are because I play with 4 paddles and 2 extra side buttons, so I have 6 extra buttons that most people don't have. However, I have videos out there for the best binds for every single type of player. If you're playing no claw, no paddles, if you just use a regular controller, then just on the YouTube search bar, search Carter2K, no claw, no paddles. If you play claw, search Carter2K claw. If you play paddles, search Carter2K paddles. I've literally tried every single type of setup you could possibly use. So I hope I was able to help you. Make sure to subscribe if I did, and thanks so much for watching.